I'm welcoming Gavin Sutherland to the University of Huddersfield, just having received your honorary doctorate. Music director of English National Ballet at the moment. You've had many different roles through your career so far and maybe many more to come. Would you like to tell us something about what this role entails, music director? Because it's not just standing in front of the orchestra conducting by any means, is it?
It's very true. Music director of a ballet company, you have to wear two rather heavy hats. An administrational hat and a creative artistic hat. So on the creative side, I'm principal conductor of our orchestra, the ENB Philharmonic. I'm responsible for all the musical decisions regarding the performances, and also, as well as conducting them, I also have to consider their welfare and make sure that any collaborations we have with composers are, encouraged and also cultivated. So we've got a good relationship with the outside music world, because sometimes ballet music can be a little bit insular, a little bit inward looking, and with lots of new commissions on the stocks, we're trying very hard to keep our options open as the tree of musical styles grows ever larger. That's the creative side. The admin side involves contracts, music rights, scheduling, logistics, how you get 5 timps, 2 marimbas and a harp from Perth to Plymouth in one day. It can be anything like that. But the fact is, it's a really rewarding and very mixed job every day. And it kind of beats working for a living.
And what are the particular challenges of working with dancers? It's a particular skill, I think, that's different perhaps from some other sorts of conducting.
It's very true. Dancers are notorious because they are what I would always call silent soloists. If you've got a piano concerto, you can hear what's coming out, and you can even respond to body language from a singer or from a non-keyboard instrumentalist. With dancers, they can't say a word, and if all goes to plan, you shouldn't hear them fall and you shouldn't hear their feet. So it's a lot about homework, attending a lot of rehearsals and working with the dancers to establish a trust, a rapport, and also read their bodies. Now, you can do that day after day in rehearsal and make all the notes and preparation and mental preparation you need to, but on the performance, something else can happen. It can either ascend into beautiful golden moments, or it can descend into this is a wet matinee afternoon and we've got problems. And you've got to be able to fix that and help the dancers look as good as they can all the time. And nowadays, gone are the days of the divas. They don't have time to be so. So there's a lot more respect between dancer and conductor, and between corps de ballet and conductor and music nowadays, with the rise of recorded music for dance more and more. Obviously they prefer to have music live, and so would I. So it's just making sure that they never lose sight of the heritage of ballet. And I never lose sight of the heritage of being with the dancers from curtain up to curtain down.
And another part of your career that's really interesting is you're interested in British music, and particularly British, what we call light music, slightly disparagingly. How did that come about, and what have you been doing with that?
I came into the musical world at the age of 3 as a self-taught pianist. And my parents were very active radio listeners, but radio too, and lighter music. I wasn't really conscious of that until I started to play the trombone at the age of 6, and then going along to school band rehearsals and county wind band rehearsals, and having the experience passed on to me of this fantastic, wonderful, tuneful music, beautifully crafted, great tunes that never leave you. And yes, all right, maybe some things were a bit samey, but it just lit a fire inside of me, and I thought, I must know more about this. And at the time, there were so few recordings available, and it was so infrequently programmed by broadcasters. I hoped that I could just keep searching and find, recordings and these scores. And so, I made it my mission, if I ever got the opportunity, to try and recreate it as a kid, and then later on find the music and get it performed. And that, of course, led to collaborations, the chairmanship of the Light Music Society, which was responsible for a huge library of over 60,000 arrangements. And The first thing I did in assuming that chairmanship was go into the library, pull the first piece of light music I ever played off the shelf, which was Knightsbridge by Eric Coates, and I just wanted to see how he did it. And that was how I learned how to write for orchestra. It was how I got to learn about conducting, to be a part of an ensemble of musicians that's being led. And I'm delighted to say that in my second year at university in Huddersfield, we had an orchestral concert which I was asked to conduct an item in, and I chose the London Suite by Eric Coates, and it sort of brought the circle to a full close in being able to reconnect with that piece, and I felt the same excitement as I did aged 6 or 7.
And looking back to your time here as an undergraduate student at the University of Huddersfield, what was it about the course and the people that you met there that you think have sort of prepared you and set you up for your career since?
The first day I arrived in this wonderful campus, I sat in a room with people who all looked very experienced at life, and I was not. I was a nerd. I was a real enthusiast for music, and I didn't know what an enthusiast was. And I was about to have it taken to, in extremis. So arriving and seeing all these people and thinking, what am I doing here? Have I bitten off more than I can chew? Being the first member of our family to go to university, or polytechnic as it was, of course. But within 1 week, I was discovering that this was the biggest treasure chest of riches I could have ever landed myself with. And I was fascinated by the nature of the staff, who were very supportive, very keen, very energetic and enthusiastic, but never lost sight of the fact that, okay, you're here, now you've got to produce the goods to match this enthusiasm and support. And the flexibility of the course, which has evolved obviously as time's gone on, and the university's music department has generated into this extraordinary treasure chest. That flexibility allowed me to mould the course how I wanted, whilst never losing sight of gaining a musical maturity. And that's something that's vital to students, because it's not just a question of growing up as people. You've got to grow up as a musician, because otherwise, when you leave the bosom of this marvellous institution, where do you go from there? Do you go out and say, I'm going to be a soloist, I'm going to be a conductor, I'm going to be a major opera singer? No, you're going to stand at the back of a chorus, you're going to sit in a brass band, you're going to sit and play in an orchestra somewhere, or you're going to abandon it all and go into teaching or musicology or whatever. It's having every option laid at your feet. You then get the opportunity to choose what you want, but at the same time, certain things come out of the woodwork and surprise you. I knew I wanted to conduct, but I also knew it was really difficult to have that opportunity because of the nature of the course. Conducting was just something you could opt into for a term, say. I didn't expect to leave as a first study conductor, and I certainly didn't expect to leave with a major first-class honours degree from a high-ranking educational institution. But equally, the musical maturity and the humane maturity that I got, I didn't expect to be working for a major ballet company in my second year, aged 19. Where did that come from? But, I was still learning, and I was still utilising everything I learned here right throughout the second year, the third year, into my first full-time job and beyond. And they're qualities that never leave you if they've been instilled in the right way, and Huddersfield's the place where that happens.
And finally, what are the plans for the future, Gavin? What new projects have you got coming up?
The plans for the future? Well, of course, the ballet always continues to tour. We're going to Madrid, then we've got a UK tour, and then 6 weeks at the London Coliseum doing Nutcracker and celebrating our 70th year with a big gala. We have a brand new piece by Akram Khan, who provided our award-winning success Giselle a few years ago. And also I've got my debut with the CBSO. I've also got a revisit to some old friends, the Munich Radio Orchestra, for a concert of Christmas movie classics. I'm going back to my composition roots, which is something I didn't expect to do. A friend who works for Veterans Aid had written a poem called The Armistice Ghost, and I was so captivated by these words that I thought, this is a recitation with music. And whilst I'm not putting myself in the lofty realms of people like Aaron Copland with Lincoln Portrait or anything like that, what I am doing is finding a love of writing down music again, rather than letting somebody else take the blame and just orchestrating it or arranging it, although there'll still be plenty of that to come as well. So a big diet of stuff. I'm also working on a PhD in music in British television, which is more of a historical thing. But the fact is, you know, everything stems from Huddersfield, and the graduation ceremony I had at the town hall in 1993 led me to look around the people there and say, what will you be doing in 10 years, 20 years, 25 years, in my case 26? I expected to see some of these people at the top of their professions, and some of them are. A lot went to spread their wares around the world and impart the experience they gained and develop it. My small part in that was to gain considerable success, but at the same time balance it up with some proper northern humility, because you never forget where you came from, because the higher up you go, the further you've got to fall. That's not happened yet. I hope it never does, but for the time being, life's really good. And I always say the same thing to anybody with ears and a pulse. I've got Huddersfield to thank for that.
Gavin Sutherland, thank you very much.
My pleasure.